Nice.
That was stupid. Well, at least we did that spiel quick, so it'll be quick. Ugh, that's dumb. I need to change. I actually
How many
need.
how many how many people are there?
Um, I don't know. Sometimes it gets up to like 9, but usually hovers around 5.
Well, my mom's watching.
Ugh, what the heck?
Wait, what if I get on my Facebook and watch it? Do I count myself as a viewer?
No, here we go. We're about to go live. Here we go. Okay.
You can.
Now,
All right, now we're live.
now we're live.
Oh man. Okay, there you go. This makes a lot more sense.
Sorry,
Okay.
everybody. Sorry, everybody. That was on me. We have two very similar logos. I do a comedy page. I do stand up, and I actually went live to my stand up page. So that's hilarious.
How comedic.
That's very funny.
That's
Well, it's I need
that's
we need to
great.
change the up. We need to. I forgot that the logo hasn't been changed here. So here we go. All right. Well, people
Well, I
listening.
yeah, I mean, I that was a great story. We were starting that there. We'll start it over.
Yeah, we'll start it over. Something about you being a dad, and we cried. It was a whole thing. People missed it.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Hey man, so yeah, well, now whoever's listening, welcome to the show. We're catching up with Danny Gamboa for a very, very special episode. Um, Obviously, he's an alumni of the internship, and I said that counts. And besides, it's my podcast, and he's my brother, so I can do whatever the hell I want. So,
Nice, dude. I am the captain now.
executive call. Sorry, Nick. No, I'm just kidding. Nick was down for it too. But yeah, man, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
boy.
so excited. We'll get back into the baby later because
What
it's
what
weird
uh
now.
what episode is this officially?
Number 46.
46.
Yeah,
Man, that's
we're
a good
moving.
number.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
It took
Almost like Rule
46.
76. Almost like Rule 76.
That's right. No excuses. Play like a champion.
That's right, baby. Hey man, so let's jump in. Okay, so we were going okay, and then that
Right.
that mistake happened. So I apologize for that. But
No, you're
tell
good.
me, let's take it from the top. We also went on a tangent there that probably wasn't ideal. So
We're good. Yeah, we were talking about
so
your high school girlfriend.
that's right. We were talking about the girl that I did not date in high school that you
Right.
said I
Right.
didn't. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
tell me about how you got into the business. Obviously, I can share my side of it too a little bit, but let's hear it.
Yes. Okay. All right. So what I was saying before was okay. So this is it was whatever year that would have been 2012. So I was a junior in high school at the time, and what I was saying is I hadn't even heard of Southwestern from you at the time. You were like it was like secondhand knowledge from this girl that you were talking to that I think that you were dating, and you're saying you weren't dating, but this girl, anyways, right?
This girl.
Um, this girl. So let's say her name was, I don't know, let's make up a name, Emmy, right?
Great name. Great name.
Okay. So anyway, so I was in high school and it was like May and we were coming back from a soccer game. I remember we were in Gretna, Nebraska at a McDonald's after a soccer game because we used to pick out McDonald's and I didn't even know I didn't think I heard Southwestern. I just remember this girl, we were in McDonald's and this girl comes up to me and she goes, hey, are you gonna miss your brother this summer? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, he's gonna be gone up in New York all summer. That's kind of a bummer. You're not gonna get to see him. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's what? And so it was just like a shock to me. I didn't even know about this. And I was looking forward to seeing you because like we were talking about before, we grew up, we're pretty close to each other. And so we hadn't been hanging out for a year because you were in college and I was still in high school. So we've been gone for, we hadn't seen each other for a year as much. And so the summer was something I was looking forward to. And so when she dropped this on me, I was like, what the hell? What's this about? And so I remember going up to you. I don't even know if I was at that McDonald's or somewhere. You were there
Yeah,
too, weren't
I
you?
was there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then I went up to you. I think I grabbed my little McDonald's tray with my chickens on them, and I was like, "Hey, what? You're going where?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going up to New York, right after school, like in a week." And I'm like, I don't even think it was a week.
No, it was
No,
like
I think it
3 days.
was.
No, because I got selected Wednesday. It was you
Yeah,
got.
but I think you kind of knew you were going to get selected because,
Oh, maybe it
or
was.
kind
It
of
might have been
thing.
something like, well, I think I'm gonna get this internship. I think
Yeah,
that was
something like that.
yeah.
Anyways, it was like a week out or a couple days, and I was like, "What the hell? Where are you going?" And you're like, "I'm just going to New York." And honestly, the funny thing is, I don't think I didn't. You didn't tell me much about it because you didn't know anything about it either.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
I was like, "What are you gonna do?" You're like, "I don't know. I'm just going to New York." And
I
I
just
was like,
trusted
"What
a
the
person I
hell?"
met 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we're going to New York. So yeah, that's the first time I ever heard it. And obviously you went off and left, and we didn't really see you that summer. And then you came back, going into my senior year of high school, and that's when you after your first summer. So that's when I first heard about this whole crazy thing. And I don't think I knew it was called Southwestern until you flew me out. That was a pretty cool experience. You remember
That's right.
that? How
Yeah, I
sweet.
remember that. Yeah, I had a good summer. Um, I had a good summer for my
Yeah.
first year. Can you hear me okay? Am I loud enough?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. I had a decent summer, and I was like, man, none of the Sunday meetings we got to go to New York,
Yeah,
and I
I had
didn't
a
know about
great
you
summer. What are you
guys.
talking about? You saw like 4,200 units. I did
It
like
was
half that.
I,
It was a solid summer.
I worked hard,
Yeah.
and I was like, dude, I never got to go to to New York, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy a one way ticket for Danny, and then we can drive back. I remember I called my
Hmm.
mom, and I was like, hey, and by the way, it's my mom. Is she your mom?
She's my mom too. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, dude. Aisha pulled that on me the other day.
Ugh.
She's like, I'm gonna go. I'm
We
gonna go get my. I mean, she's like, I'm gonna go get my son. And I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm like,
yeah.
she's like, because it's my son. It's your son too, right? I'm like, yes, you're right. That's correct.
We say my mom instead of just mom. So I called our my mom and I
Yeah.
said, "Hey, can I fly Danny out here?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." And so I went and picked you up in New York. We had a blast. We rode bikes through Central Park. We talked to homeless dudes. We
Yeah,
went
that
to the
was
Living
fun.
Group. Yeah, yeah.
You
And
kind
then
of balled out. You kind of balled me out. We stayed at this place. Like we were like 2 blocks from Times Square, and Um, we went to like bubblegum shrimp. I mean, that ticket must have been at least a couple $100 or
yeah,
so. I don't
yeah,
know. You spent a lot of money.
yeah. I spent. I was like,
Thanks.
screw it, dude. I worked my ass off for this, and I was
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah,
gonna.
yeah.
This
That
is
was
fun. And
cool.
I'm in New York. I don't know when I'll come back again because at that point I don't think I was gonna come back. I think I was like, that was good for that was one was good, and then
Yeah,
yeah, so I was like, screw it, let's just ball out, and then we drove back and you went to check out.
that's right. And that was a cool drive back. It was cool getting to hang out with you again. And that's kind of when I learned more about Southwestern. What you did was that long drive, and then the laptop story. That's has anyone
Oh,
heard that story on here yet?
I don't think so. I wanted to
Oh
kill you,
my
dude.
God.
I wanted to kill you, and this is
Oh,
for
dude.
anybody delivering
Oh,
right now.
wow.
This is good for anybody delivering right now. Anybody who is doesn't really understand what a cashier's check is. Uh,
Yeah,
to,
well, they don't even do that anymore. Now they don't, which, for good reason, I guess, because this could happen, but they just remit everything and wire everything now. So,
oh, interesting.
uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, lots changed.
So back in the day, you see, you would take all the money that you got from deliveries and you would get a cashier's check and take it back to Nashville, and that was essentially your check
Hmm.
for the summer. Like you paid for the other half of the books, and then whatever was left over, that was your
Yeah,
profit for the summer. And
yeah.
I had like a check for 20. I closed all the accounts, so and
Hmm.
I like an idiot kept the receipt with the check, and I put this check in an envelope inside my laptop, and we were driving through Ohio, popped a tire at like 5:30 in the afternoon, going through Columbus, and I was like,
Hmm.
crap, on the interstate. Everything was tucked and packed really nicely. All the books that I had left over, and my laptop didn't have a cover or anything on it. It was just sitting on this really thin backpack. And we started throwing all the luggage, and I was like, hey, Danny, take care. This is my 17-year-old brother. I'm like, there's no way he's gonna mess this up. So I was like,
16. I was 16 at the
this
time.
is my 16-year-old brother. He's
Yeah,
grown. He can drive. This guy has
yeah,
brains. He's smart. And I give
yeah.
him the laptop with the check inside of it. And I'm like, hold on to this. This is super important. Looking back, maybe I should have communicated how important that was, but also you're
Dude, how
16
much
and
was it? Was
also
what? It was there was $19,000 in that little envelope,
yeah,
right?
something like that, like 1920, something like
Yeah.
that. It was a lot. And okay, so change it, put the spare on, take it to the tire place. You Googled us how to get there while I was changing the tire, and
That's
when
right.
we got there, you went to go take a dump, and I remember the laptop was in the front, and Colombia was saying "No hay que dar papaya." In other words, don't let someone screw you over. And I wasn't trusting these guys who were changing your tires, so I was like, I'm not gonna leave that computer just where I can't see it.
Right.
So I went to go
Right.
grab it, and I was like, Hey, Where's the laptop, Danny? And he's like, oh, from inside
Well,
the
no,
bathroom.
well, you knocked on. I remember. I feel like it was yesterday, dude. I was literally on the seat. I was like going through my phone, just enjoying, just taking my time. And then I just hear you. You're like, "Hey, Danny, where's the laptop?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? On the laptop that I gave you?" And I'm like, and immediately I knew exactly where it was. And I was like, "Oh shit, dude, I left that on top of the car when we took off." And so I immediately we get out there and we're like, holy cow, we got to find this laptop. And luckily, we still had the pin from where we left from the GPS. So
Yeah.
the guy was nice enough. The owner was a manager or whatever of the
Yeah.
place. Drove us out, and he's like, we're like, this is an emergency. You need to take us to the spot, please. And he was like, what are you looking for? And we didn't want to tell him because we didn't want to,
Yeah.
we just didn't want to trust the guy with that kind of knowledge. And so we're like, can you just get us? It's very important. And so we get out there and we get to like the exact spot where that pin was where we were when we were
Yeah.
changing the tire. And we start looking in the middle of the interstate. There's cars like flying by. And I'd start going down this way on the grass. You start going that way. And we found your laptop.
Piece by
And
piece.
oh my God, it was shredded, dude. I mean, that thing was like keys all over. I think the keyboard was gone and like the top had broken off. And so we're like, oh my God, the check flew out of the laptop.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we're never going to find this thing. How are you going to find? There's no way. And so we looked for, I mean, a few minutes, right?
It was a while, yeah. I
And then
crossed into the middle.
you cross into the median, and I'm like, holy cow, this guy's dodging traffic. You get like dodgeball. You can dodge traffic, you dodge a dodgeball. And he's like in the middle of the interstate, and he jumps in the median, and he starts looking in there, and I'm like, I'm already just like crying on the inside because I lost this thing. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad about the laptop, let alone, I mean, the
Yeah, you had
twenty
no idea
thousand
what to
dollar
check.
check,
And
right?
I see an envelope and I'm like, oh my God. Well, no, I pick up grass and I see which way the wind's blowing. I'm like, it's got to have flown this way. So that's why I cross. And I just see this little envelope just still kind of hanging onto this blade of grass from the wind. I pick it up. There's no check in there, bro. And I'm like,
Yeah, dude, that's
no,
wild.
dude. I couldn't give up. Like, and I just got off the summer. So I was like, positive attitude. Like, we're going to find this thing.
Right. I definitely didn't. So I was pretty neg. I was like, shit. It's over.
And then I see another little piece of paper. And I'm like, I remember saying, I said these words out loud. I was like, God, if this is the check, I will never doubt you again. And I ran up, and that's how I found Jesus, because there was a $20,000 check in the median. Oh my God, dude, we
And
found
that
that
guy
check.
was like, "You guys find what you're looking for?" We're like, "Yep, yep, we got it." And yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Bro,
That
funny
was
part,
crazy.
funny, two added caveats to the funniness of the story. So, when we were leaving with the tire busted from the interstate, we heard like a pop, but I was more worried about
Oh
trying to get back
yeah,
on the interstate because we weren't on a ramp. So I was just trying to get back on the interstate, and I was more like nervous about semis and
it was
stuff
like a
coming.
thud.
And we
Yeah, it
heard a
was like, "Tuk,
thud,
tuk, tuk, tuk."
and we both were like, "What the hell was that?" I don't
I'm like,
know.
I don't know.
It
It
was
was
my
a
laptop.
laptop. Yeah, whoops.
Second funny thing,
Oh
and
my
we're
god.
we're fast forwarding, but yeah, obviously I recruit you, but you end up going next summer. We'll get to how that story ends up. And
Yeah,
anyway, we're at your checkout. Yvette is giving the talk about why the cashier's check is so
we're
important.
at
She's like,
delivery school. She's in
delivery
delivery
school.
school. And she's like, this is why you need to make sure. So this is the most important part. We just go through like a whole day of delivery school. And she's like, the most important part is what I'm about to say. She's like, your cashier's check. You need to withdraw everything, make it out to Southwestern, and you can't lose this thing. This thing is your summer. And in the back of the room, I hear this and I'm like, I look at Andres and I'm like, oh shit, I get it now.
Like the whole room's dead quiet,
I
and you hear him in the back like, "Oh shit."
uh a year later. Dude.
Oh, funny. So then the
Yeah.
next thing you know about South, so you go to checkout, and what was that
So we go to
like?
check in. I mean, yeah, it was cool. That was actually when I first met Grant Greeter, which so cool. I remember meeting him and Yvette for the first time, and a lot of the people that you worked with that summer, like Josh. I think you had him on here, and Steve, and yeah, there's just really cool people. I remember meeting them and having fun in Nashville. I remember Omar. You had Omar on here too,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Hmm.
Met Omar there, just a lot of people. And so then we came back, I came back to school. You went back to college and you're, doing your Sizzler thing and all that stuff. And then I remember we were at our house and it was kind of like, um, man, it was probably like late fall, like November-ish or something like that. And I remember it was me, you were home for some reason. It was me, you, and my dad, and we were talking about my plans for college.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I had gotten the Buffett scholarship, which, and for those of you that don't know Nebraska, you get like the Buffett scholarship helps pay for your tuition. So that paid for all my school, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But I was playing soccer a lot at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was debating going and playing at Creighton, and Creighton at that time gave me a $2,000 scholarship offer. And at the time, I was like, I mean, Creighton's like $50,000 or something like that a year. So $2,000, I was like, good God. So that was my options were, go play soccer for $48,000 and probably sit on the bench for 3 years, or do this thing with you. And I think what got me excited about it is we were talking about buying a house together or something like that. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so my options was soccer and debt and all that stuff, or go to school for free and go work with you. And I think, and that's when I made up my mind. And at that point, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. As much as I knew I was gonna miss playing soccer. I'm like, I remember that was like, I didn't really go back after that. That was kind of like my, all right, I'll do this thing with you. And I still didn't really know what it was, but
No.
I'm like, I'll go work with you. I
Well, and
kind of
too,
had an
like
idea. I kind of had an idea.
you understood like the end of it, what it looked like at the end, and so I think that
Yeah,
kind of helped.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
and you didn't
Yeah,
like because I did do an info session with you. I don't think I did a presentation with you, and then Christmas came along, and then
no.
I took you to JRS.
You took me to JRS, yeah, and that was super helpful. That's where I learned a lot more about what you guys do at the time, and I was like, okay, cool. Um, so that got me fired up, and then you didn't train me the whole rest of the semester.
Nothing. Nothing.
Actually, no. In your defense, you tried to train me. I was incredibly uncoachable. Do you remember that
Yes.
one time you came home from, I don't know, like, you were home for the weekend from college, and you tried to do this exercise with me. I'm
Yeah.
looking back at it, I'm like, dude, that was such a shitty first year. Where you were
Yeah.
like, what I want you to do, you're like, what I want you to do is I want you to take this bag and go. You walked me out to the front steps of our house at the time, and you're like, I want you to knock on the door and say this presentation, and then when I shut the door, I want you to run around the house
That's right.
and do it again. And I'm like, I was 17 years old in high school. I thought it was the hottest thing ever. And
Yeah.
I had such a big cool car. And I was like, I really try to do it. Did I even do one lap?
No.
I think I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this, dude.
And I was like, all right, well, watch me do this. And I did an approach. And then I was like spring break. I think that's why I was home.
Yeah, you're home for, yeah,
And
that
I
sounds
was
right.
like, all right, well, okay, you got told you come out to learn this presentation. You got to learn this word for word. At the very least, do that. And I was, it's like, cool. And you're like, yeah. And then you learned it like on the drive
To sales school.
to sales.
Well, hey, as so many of us do, right? As so many of us do.
Didn't we all?
Didn't we all memorize it on the way to sales school? But yeah, I just remember I was super uncoached. That's like the one time you tried to coach me, and other than that, that's like we
I
never
mean,
really talked about
I
it.
I called you and stuff to try to like prep you, and because it was hard too, because you didn't really understand like you never had like a presentation, and all you knew was GRS, and I knew that you were coming, so I didn't have to like try to keep you warm. I was like, oh, he's coming, and Yvette's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, he's coming.
Yeah, dude,
I'll
there's no
drag
way.
him.
Yvette probably was like, "There's no way like this kid's coming."
And I was like, no, he's coming. Like I don't know. I just knew you said you were gonna come, and I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I
maybe
literally, I never had a doubt in my mind. I was like, I'm doing this thing. I, you know, and Yvette. So I was supposed to go a week earlier, and then I had that CYC thing. Remember?
yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. And so it was just, for those who don't know, it was just this organization that I was a part of in high school, where like you do community events for the youth leadership, whatever. So I was part of this thing, and we had an event the week after I was supposed to go. And so I call you. I think I called you. I don't think I ever talked to you that, but I called one of you two, and I was like, "Hey, I got this thing, an event. I put it together for the community here in my hometown, so I got to be there." And so I delayed my sales school like a week
Ah,
later than I was supposed to, and I already had a short summer because I graduated like in end of May
yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And
You didn't get
so
out to me
my
until like the
son,
last week of May.
yeah, so like my summer just kept getting shorter and shorter. And I can imagine what Yvette was thinking this whole time, like, oh gosh, like this
This kid's not
this,
coming.
kid, this kid's not coming.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just remember thinking like I don't have to like he'll figure it out. He's got high school, he's got soccer, he's got stuff going on. There's no way he's gonna take time to train. Like
Right.
there's no. And but I would call you and say, hey, how you doing? Are you still feeling like you're okay about this? And I mean, and you were super warm every time, but just not
Cool.
very uncoachable. But that's okay.
Very uncoachable.
But
Yeah,
you learn.
yeah,
You learn.
eventually, I
You
guess.
learn.
Yeah.
So what was it like coming out? Like, so you graduate high
So
school, and
so I
then like,
graduated. I did the week with and I stayed. And then after I left and Yvette was like my second mom, pretty much. God bless Yvette. She would call me, because I was 17 years old. I never driven that far. I was, just gonna go on, there was no caravan for me to go with. It was by
yeah,
myself. So I'm driving and Yvette would call me like every 2 hours of like, okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this exit. And so she was just so patient with me and she would check in on me. And then I got to Nashville, um and it was like a 26, I remember it was like a 26 person sales school. It was tiny. And it was at the company and it was actually ran by Sheridan McDonald, which maybe you
legend.
should reach out to that guy. He's awesome. See, at the time it was like the last year of the Cadillac organization, and that was like the last year they had sales school before they kind of went away. And so I was in sales school with the Cadillacs, these like 25 other kids, and it was great. It was fun. It was a cool little sales school, kind of unorthodox, obviously compared. I learned to, I came to find out later the following year, and that's also the year Edgar Ibarra was on there. He showed up at that sales school, and that's when I first met Edgar. And gosh, it was
Yeah,
awesome. Edgar's such a homie, and
you have to have a common vision.
you have to have a common vision,
I
Edgar.
love it. That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So that was my sales school. Next short. Oh, and I remember Sheridan did not like me, dude. He hated me. He just thought I was the cockiest shit, and I was. I memorized my sales talk, and I just kind of got it down pretty quick. It wasn't too hard for me, and I knew you did really well, so I think I had this chip on my shoulder because everyone kind of knew who you were. So everyone was like, "Oh, you're Andres's brother," and so man, he did not like me like the whole time. Like it he's like I could just tell he had it out for me. He was not a fan of me. And I did my real deal. Virgie did my real deal, Virgie Sanford.
Yeah, yeah.
And holy smokes, dude. It took me till like my fourth summer to talk to her again. Um, she just destroyed me, dude. Virgie's like the
For, for
scariest Mrs. Jones.
for people listening, if you don't know what a real deal is, um in the sales school Tuesday, I think it's like the last Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, they have kids like the cocky one, the one that's doing pretty good, and then the one that's not doing so hot. Those three kids get put in like this in the ringer, and the DSMs pretend to be like what they're actually going to see like in real life, and they're pretty accurate. I mean, you get
They're
which
pretty
is
accurate. Some
yeah,
DSMs crank it up a little bit more to, but
but they're mean sometimes.
yeah, they're
A lot
they're
of
I
times,
mean, it's intense. And so
it's like drill.
yeah, I remember knocking on Virgie's door and she answered, oh my God, dude, she made me tremble. I was like, holy fuck, dude,
And
she
it's in
is
front
so
of
good.
everybody. It's in
Well,
front of
actually, no,
everybody
this
else
one
in
was
there.
different. The Cadillacs did it different. What they did is everybody did it. And the way you did it is like Sheridan stood at one side of the parking lot and then Virgie stood at the other side. And then there's like two other people that helped run it. I think Edgar was one door. The people, it was like four people that were doors and they just like stood really really far out and you had to sprint across the whole, so everyone was going at once, and so we were all going. So I would go get my shit rocked by Sheridan and then I'd go to Virgie's door and then she'd destroy me and then I'd so it
Yeah,
was
it's
wild,
tough
but
training, but it's good. I mean, I feel like that's a better way of doing it because yeah, you get some real stuff at the house at the
yeah,
houses you go
I mean,
to.
it was
So,
good. Yeah, it was good.
um,
So then I headed out, and the funny part, what I wanted to mention is on my drive up is I stopped at oh my gosh, Virginia. It might have been Roanoke,
Roanoke,
Virginia.
yeah, Roanoke.
Roanoke, yeah. And Yvette had booked a hotel for me, and I get to the hotel. She's like, "Yeah, you just want to check in," and she's like, "You're 18, right?" And I'm like, "No, Yvette, I'm 17." And it's the longest I'd seen Yvette pause without a thought. I could just hear it through the phone. She was like, "Oh crap, this kid's not gonna be able to check in." So she's like, "Okay, well, yeah, I guess we'll see. Just let me know what happens." I'm like, all right. So I just went in there super confidently, and I always kind of looked at a little older. So, luckily she never checked my ID, but I stayed there that night and met up with you guys. And when I got to Massachusetts, I got to Mass like at 5 p.m. It was like in
Hmm.
the evening, and I met you at your turf.
Yeah.
And that was when that was like my first time working with you.
Hmm. That was the day I picked a family to donate the books to,
I
because
remember that. Yeah.
I wanted you to see it. I was like, I
I
want you to understand what this is really about.
I remember
And
that. Yeah.
and you were with me at that door, and it was that mom that she, this classic story, couldn't afford it, but that's a good mom. And it was raining that
Hmm.
day. You remember that?
Yeah, it was raining. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And you knocked on her door and left it on her steps, and yeah, that was
Bailed.
cool.
They wanted those exploring urns, I think, or whatever,
No, I
or
think
ask
there's like
me's.
Ask Me's. Yeah,
And I knocked on her door and I stepped out, and then we watched it. He couldn't see us, but we watched it from like behind a like little
it's like a
hedge
fence or something.
or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. And he like picked
yeah,
him up, and he was like, "Mom!" And he ran inside, and I was like, "That's why we do this." And that was the only
yeah. That's
training.
pretty cool.
That
Yeah,
was it. And then we all went home. It was fine. Man,
yeah.
dude, we got to talk about that host family in Massachusetts though.
Oh my gosh, dude.
This
Have you had Manny on here?
Not yet. I feel like we need
Oh,
Manny on here for this, but
oh
I'm
my
gonna tell the
gosh,
story anyway.
dude.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna tell the
that is
cricket
wild.
story. The cricket story. We need.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the whole place
All
was
right.
crazy.
We're not gonna mention the names of the people for the sake of just to be polite.
that's
But
that's
this is
smart.
like if you want like a crazy HQ story. This is well not crazy, but it was creepy. All right, so
It was odd.
so we lived in Massachusetts, and feel free to chime in wherever as you remember. But we lived in Massachusetts. House was 250 years old because like George Washington was around the area back when the
It
country
was the
was
first generation home. So this thing was
yeah
built like in 19 like
no
in not no not
17
19. I'm sorry, like 17. Yeah, it's like yeah, Ben Franklin lived there.
1760. Yeah, it was like old
It
house.
was
It
stupid
was
old.
old,
Yeah.
and you could tell when you walked in it. Like nothing was on. Everything was
Yeah.
super
Oh,
old.
do you remember the floors, bro? The floors were like
Yeah,
all the way. It felt like you were walking around with drunk goggles on
yeah,
because the floors were just so just the
yeah.
wood was so messed up.
These people had hosted before. They took us there. One of our first years had quit day one, so that's how he ended up living with me. And I was like, "There's no way Danny's not living with me." So I pulled you in, and it was you, me, and Manny. They had it was the
Gosh,
dad. The
that
dad
was
was a
fun.
pastor. He was a big guy. Mom was a like a the lady that what do you call them? The nurse.
A midwife, midwife.
Midwife. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Um,
was a midwife.
yeah, she was midwife, and then they had three kids, all girls.
Three girls.
Yeah, and they all had, bless her heart, they must have had some sort of like mental health stuff. I don't know because
Yeah.
they were just odd. They were a little odd.
Rachel was cool. No, was it Rachel? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Rachel was
no
cool.
names though. The youngest one,
Oh, sorry, the youngest one. She was awesome.
her whose name is not actually Rachel. Her name
Yeah,
is Camo, and
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so this is important. It had a dog, and it was without
Philip, you got
question.
a picture of this dog? Well, those
No,
are there's a here. You keep talking.
send it to me, text it to me, and I'll throw it up. This dog was, how do I describe this dog?
Oh, dude,
I don't know which side of him was the front.
it was
Is that
just not a
fair?
good looking dog. Oh
Um,
yeah, it was rough. It was old too. It was
and he like, like it was this like
yeah,
noise that he made all of the time.
yeah,
He was repugnant.
yeah.
Like he peed at this point. He had already peed on the sleeping bag, on the air mattress, and on the yoga mat that I was sleeping on the floor. There was a bunk bed. We stayed in this room that was like maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. Like the bunk bed went all the way to the end,
Yeah,
and it was a kid's bunk bed. It was a time. It must have been like a big closet back in the day. Um,
yeah.
and we're saying it. It's like this bunk bed, and so you and Manny are on the bunk, and I'm on the floor,
Like a good student leader.
like a good student leader. And
Yes, take
and
one for the team.
and well, okay. So then they had like a bearded dragon. It was like the big ass lizard, and in the hallway, we had to sleep with the door open because it was hot. There was no air
Oh
conditioning
my
in the
gosh, dude, it
room.
was so hot.
You woke up.
It was so hot. We slept in a sauna that summer, man.
Dude, we lost weight just
It
from sleeping.
was It was so hot.
So we had to sleep with the room open, and there was a light in the hallway that never shut off for whatever reason. We get up one morning, the three of us, quick showers, cold showers, boom, boom, boom. We're getting dressed quick, and the middle daughter is standing under the silhouette of the light on the hallway. She's holding the bearded dragon, and she's petting the damn thing, and she's just looking at us like this, and she says out loud, "She ate all the crickets," and just looked at us, and we were like,
Oh, so creepy, man.
"Hey, girl, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I just come to make sure you guys aren't sneaking around." And she's like 10 years old. She told me
Yeah,
one time,
dude.
she's like, "Did you know you talk when you sleep about books?" And I
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
dude.
"How do you know that?" She goes, "I watch you guys when you sleep in case you don't
Yeah, that
do
was
something
wild.
bad."
She didn't want us there. I
Mm-mm.
remember that much.
We had a lot of problems with. She like broke into my computer.
Yeah,
Like it was.
she's like, you're like, did you break into my computer? And she's like, no, I didn't. Why? I didn't do that. No. And you're like, then why are there a bunch of Minecraft games on it? she's not like us.
She was not a fan of what we were doing there. So
Oh my gosh,
yeah, that was crazy for summer. We were in Massachusetts. We ate Andino's pizza with the biggest piece of slices I ever seen.
dude, that was
Um,
great.
it was a
The Miss Piggy.
Yeah. But yeah, what a crazy summer for you, man. You were competing, you were working hard in a short summer. You were able to be a top first year. You know, you ended up being like in the top 50
I
or
was
something.
I was actually I was 79. I
Oh
remember I
yeah,
was 79. I was like right at 2,000 units
yeah,
that
with a
summer.
short summer, man. And you hit
Yeah, that was
Sizzler.
well.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So what were some of the things that you think that you picked up the most, like kind of shaped you, and kind of walk us through what happened next into kind of what you're up to now, like with being in Vietnam.
Yeah, so the biggest thing, so yeah, that summer changed my life. And it's that summer of 2013 was just that was a crazy year. It was a really crazy year for us. And that summer a lot happened. I that was actually the first time I I accepted Christ in my life that summer, and that was obviously a game changer for me. I remember to this day. Did I ever tell you the story about Eleanor, the old lady I met?
Mm-mm.
No, I still remember her name. So I go up to his house, and long story short, there's this lady in the backyard that she calls me to the backyard, and I go back there, and this lady looks like she's maybe 5,500 years old, and she's watering her garden. And she's like, obviously she doesn't have kids. So I'm like, oh, sorry, wrong spot. And she's like, so what are you doing here exactly? And I told her, and she's like, listen, son, like, I don't know why I want to tell you this, but I'm just letting you know it seems like you're going through a tough time because she could tell I was having a tough day. It was just one of those days. And she goes, I just want you to know that your parents are back in Nebraska. They can't help you. And I know your brother's out here, but he can't help you. But Jesus can help you. And dude, I don't know what it was about that, but dude, it was one of those where she just said what I needed to hear, and I just went boom. And I got in my car and I just wept like a little kid, and I was just like, ooh. And that was kind of the start. And then I met other families that kind of prayed over me, and it was just such an awesome spiritual growth summer. And it was also the summer that I met Aisha,
Mm.
who's now my wife. So that was,
The mother of your
crazy,
child.
the mother of my child. But that was also the summer that our parents got divorced,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember that. So it was just a challenging summer. I remember we were driving back and we found out them they had split up on the drive back home.
Yeah,
You remember that? And that
they
was
hadn't they hadn't sold the house yet. That was 2014, but we found out that they were like separating. We were like, oh,
yeah, yeah. And I was like, yikes, right? And I was like on the way back to Nashville. And so it was just a crazy year. And so
you went to
yeah,
college.
I went to college. Yeah. It was a lot happened that year. So 2013 was clear. And yeah, just I I
Dude, I remember dropping you off at your first store
oh my God, dude, that was
because
that
you
was an
lost
awful
your
story.
keys. That's a whole different
Dude,
story.
so that's a whole nother story. I don't even know if we have time for that. We're probably like 3 hours in already.
Do the short. Do
The
do a
short
short
version,
version.
my first day following, I lost my keys to my car, so I became a walker like that. And so my first 2 weeks, I had to walk because it took 2 weeks to get key to my car because it had a special chip in it or something. So I walked for 2 weeks. So Andres dropped me off at my first house in Haverhill, Massachusetts, and I go to and it's like light rain that morning. Do you remember that? And you drop me off. You're like, it's that one, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I get out, and I'm like, I see you. And I can't imagine what you're thinking. What's going on through your mind watching me go up to my first door? It's like,
Dude, I'll
ah.
talk about that. I'll talk about that. But yeah,
That's crazy. So I knock on the door and no one answers. And I'm like, okay, all right, 3 steps back, do it again. I wait 8 seconds. I knock again. I step back. And I'm like, what the heck? And I do what you're not supposed to do. And I kind of look through that, the window panel next to the door so you
yeah,
can look inside. So I
yeah.
kind of peek in there and I'm like, what the heck? Where's that? And then I look at the doorbell. I'm like, maybe I should ring the doorbell. And so I look to go ring the doorbell, and there's 8 doorbells on this freaking building. And I'm like, oh my
It's a
gosh,
house. It looks like a
it's
house.
it looks like a house, but it's like a 8 family complex. And uh, I'm like, they didn't really train me. What do I do? I'm like, do I just like ring all of them? Do I go one at a time? Do I knock louder? I don't know what to do. So I just skipped it. And I'm like, okay. So I start noticing all that whole area that you dropped me off at was all multifamily complexes. And I meet this mom on the street who's taking out the trash. And I'm like, perfect. I'll go talk to her. And I demo her, and she didn't even have kids. And I'm like, hey, do you know where I can find single family homes? And she's like, oh yeah, that's like 3 miles up whatever the road. And I'm like, shoot. So I get my little book bag and I'm like running down in the rain, and I'm like, and I'm trying to find like single family homes. And oh man. So yeah, that was my first day. That was
Oh, dude, I talked about this in another episode, but that was a hard day for me to drop you off with that, man. Because I remember what I went through, you know? And
yeah, of course.
as a big brother, and, through everything we've been through, um, and it's a lot, at this point, you and I have already been through, like,
All
a
right.
ton of shit in our life, and always, like, looking out for you, right? The big brother type role in my head. And I remember going, oh, man, like, this summer's gonna crush him. Like, even now, to hear that story when you met that lady,
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking for me as your older brother, And so it's like, and I know you don't
Mhm.
need my help anymore, like you're good, right? But it's still like something about instinctually wanting to like protect you. And I remember dropping you off, and I was like, it was hard. It was hard to drop you off because
I
I
bet.
knew you were about to eat
Yeah, I bet.
shit, But I knew you needed to. I knew you needed to grow. I knew there was like I knew there was something here for you, And I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
this is
Well, hey,
it. You
dude,
gotta let him go.
I've
Yeah.
told you many times, but you changed my life, man. I'm really grateful for that. So I appreciate it.
Cheers to that. You did a lot
Yeah.
of really good work, man. I was super proud of you. So yeah, and
Yeah.
you
Crazy.
did you know you wanted to come back right away? I actually never asked you this. Did you know?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to come back. I wasn't, you know, yeah, no, I wasn't really excited. I didn't really decide I wanted to come back till I was at Sizzler. I remember at Sizzler, like most people or a lot of people, I was like, yeah, all right, this works. And the reason for that is I was really bummed about my check, in which a lot of that happens
Hmm.
because I didn't do a good job of keeping my expenses low and tracking stuff. And so it was really frustrating to see a lot of work that I did just not come to fruition. But little did I know, I got paid in a lot of different ways that maybe wasn't financially, but man, the way I did get paid um, has paid me over a thousandfold right today. So, but at the time I was, too immature to see that, and
Hmm.
I was frustrated. So I think it was like Sizzler time that I was like, all right, I'm on board for another one.
Hmm.
So
Sizzler
yeah,
MVP.
that was second Sizzler,
Oh, I
Sizzler
was just saying.
MVP, second Sizzler. Yeah, that was one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good time. We went to Mexico. Oh wait, yeah. I'm gonna share this picture now. I have a picture here from from our breakfast spot at the
Oh
end.
yeah, dude.
If you're listening in, sorry, it's a picture, old picture of Danny and I. But if you're watching on Facebook, you'll be able to see it. Let's see here,
That was a great little spot.
dude. It was a good spot. Good, perfect breakfast spot. Here we go. Boom.
Look at that. Wow. First summer.
And you had cut your hair at this point because you came out with your hair
Yeah, I
long.
I had I had for those of you that knew me back in the day, is I had the Justin Bieber hair and all through high school, and Andres convinced me to cut my hair for the summer. And I think that was probably like the only coachable thing I was coachable about.
Yeah.
And
I
even
told you, I was like, bro, you gotta cut your hair.
and I think it took me like till like week 2 or 3 to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because when I dropped you
But
off of your door, you still had the hair, and I was like,
yeah, I had it for like a couple of weeks, and then I finally cut it. I haven't gone back since. So
Well, there you go. Just
yeah,
trying to help. But anyway, yeah, that was the old picture from your first summer. I found it. Actually, I posted it. It was from that was from our last day there. So it was like from August of that year, but I didn't post it until September. And it was actually 8 years ago today that I posted it. So
yeah, it's crazy. That is wild.
8 years ago. Yeah. So you came back, dude. I mean, there's we could talk about all the lessons learned and share as many as you want, because I mean, obviously, your leadership skills have kind of speak for themselves. I wanted to brag about you a little bit here, because what happened after 2016 and your decision to come back and to rebuild the force, at this point, and you can talk about this as much as you want, but I'm even curious, like, how did you do what you did? Because the force was coming to an end, or it seemed like people were leaving, people were jumping ship. Yvette was gone, Grant was gone, and you were down to like a few people, and then all of a sudden, you got a giant organization now. So, what to talk to me about, like, your growth and your leadership, what you learned, and how you're able to like do what you just did.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I wanted to be around for once I did commit to coming back again. I remember I wanted to be back for a while, and I was so grateful for people like Grant and Yvette, and I just enjoyed it. It was just a fun thing to do while I was in college. So I was like, yeah, I'll be here for a while. And I remember in 2015, after my third summer, I remember telling Grant, I'm like, Grant, you got me for 5 more years. And he asked me to sign my EDA for 2016. And actually, I had Ray, who was our sales support at the time, print out 5 EDAs, and I put, and she legally couldn't make one for every year, but I kind of like crossed it off anyway. So I had an EDA for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and I signed them all and I gave them all to Grant, and he's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "You got me till 2020," and so I was all in. So um, seeing how the force struggled was really hard because 2016 was tough because that's when that moved on, and then 2017, just the next year, was when Graham moved on, and I think we were down to like 8 of us or something like that.
Mm.
um and I that was the closest I ever came to leaving, was when I heard Grant was moving on. And I remember I found out like on my way back to Nashville um that summer, and I was in the car with Aisha, and I was like, I think I'm done. I think it's time for the next thing. And then Aisha just kind of looked at me and she's like, man, really? And then I just remembered that we had this with the group that we had. I remember telling them that I was going to be here till 2020. And we had made a vision in 2016 that we were going to be the number one campus in the world again by 2020. And at the time that seemed just absolutely absurd, right? But I told him 2020, and I remember I wanted to leave, and then I sat on it for like 2 minutes. I was in the car with Aisha, and then I'm like, I can't. I told him I was going to be here till 2020, and that's so I stayed, and I just felt like I owed it to the people I was working with at the time to follow through on that. So I stayed, and then from there we just started rebuilding. And what helped us, I mean, a lot of things. I mean, it was definitely, I mean, Ryan Groom came into the picture, and dude, he just brought life into us again. And Groom's become a big mentor of mine. And for those of you guys that don't know, Groom's the JYD district sales manager, and he got adopted what was left of the force. And thanks to him, we just kind of we regained a vision, and we got recommitted with the 8 people that were left, and all those 8 people were just all in. And um, we couldn't have done it without all that buy-in that we had at the time. We just had a lot of buy-in, and we had a lot of fun ideas that we wanted to do, and we executed on them, and we just decided to make it fun and be committed to the vision, and it worked out. And sure enough, in 2020, we were so excited, but we were number one campus in the world for the longest time, and then we just let Texas San Antonio slip by. We were the number two campus,
Oh,
so close. But I think, looking back, like, if you would have told anyone that UNL was going to be the number two campus in the world in 2015 or 2016, I
they'd
mean,
have
they
been
would
like,
have
no.
laughed. They would have laughed. So I think, just super proud of everyone for that. I think it's just a huge accomplishment. So that was really cool to see.
What were some of the things that you decided, like, if anybody's listening and they want to know how to like build a solid organization that has like a lot of like that retention and loyalty, like what were some of the things that you wanted to be part of that
Yeah.
culture? Like, what did you do?
Well, and again, there was like a little tribe of us, right? And we all the first thing is we just had a lot of buy-in from our leadership, and not just me. You know, we had people that were, you know, Colin Appel at the time, Mitch Johnson. Um, there's Austin Gerber, you know, Aaliyah Creamy, like some of these OGs, you know, Force OGs, Aisha, that really had just this buy-in. And I think without that buy-in with that leadership group, we nothing would have gotten off the ground. So we just had a lot of buy-in. And then two, we revisited our culture, and Groom really helped with that. And we came up with the core values and what we wanted to be known for. And we came up with fun ideas to make. I remember asking this to our group. I remember going like, what is gonna what can we do so people in other organizations want to be a part of the force? And that was kind of like the 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 prompt, if you will, and then we just came up with a bunch of ideas, and we came up with them, and it was awesome. So we have like lightsabers now, and you know we have all these fun things, and we have this cool. And our culture just kind of took off, and our vision started growing along with it because we just had a good culture, a good core values with that group, a lot of buy-in, and
Mm.
so I think those all those things combined just kind of led to an organization that was just going to grow no matter what, you know. Um,
Okay.
so
Damn.
yeah.
Damn. And then as far as like, looking at you looking back now, so 8 summers. I mean, I think you hit PC like 30 times in a row. You were able to. Let's talk about your sales for a little bit because you grew every summer too. Like you, pretty much. Like, yeah, was there a summer that you
Except for
didn't?
one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
my fourth summer was my, you know, my what's it called? The implosion award.
Implosion.
Yeah, that summer just got in my head, and then, but yeah, no, I hit growth 5 times, 5 different years, and it was pretty just steady, nothing crazy, you know,
Right.
just
But
steady growth.
how did you find? Because like, so imagine you're like what would you tell like your 17-year-old self? You know what I'm saying? Had or at the because you were still
Yeah.
17 at the end of the summer. So what would you say to that Danny to based on where you're at now?
I think the biggest word that comes to mind is ownership, and just taking ownership. And I think for a long time I was waiting to take ownership, and it didn't click until like my fifth summer that I just needed to take ownership, you know. And Yvette leaving was a big part of that. You know, back in the day, my first 3 summers, you know, I think the reason I didn't take ownership is because I looked at Steve to do it. You know, I looked at Hannah Reesberg. I'm like, she'll do it. You know, Brandon Q, Will Metcher. I'm like, those guys can do it. You know, those guys are the leaders. So I think when all those people moved on and there was no one else, um, I was the next person in line, and I wasn't producing a lot by any means, but I was the next one up, which was kind of sad at the time. You know, I think I was only putting up like 5,000 units, nothing crazy. And so I just remember going, you know, someone's got to do it. So I just took a lot of ownership, and I think that's what I was missing my first half of my career, you know.
Yeah, and for people listening who might not know what 5,000 unit means, like 10,000 unit summer is a pretty solid summer. You made about 70 grand. That would be 70 grand.
Hmm.
But the people, all the people you mentioned had that kind of like production, like the
Yeah.
leadership, and
Yeah.
then
So, yeah.
you were doing half of that, which so you felt a little inadequate. How did you push through like those? Did you have like any insecurities? Were you ever like, man, maybe I can't do this, or like how did you fight through that?
I just honestly, I the biggest thing is I raised my expectation because I knew, you know, honestly, it also helps that I couldn't afford to not do well personally outside of the force. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do. Like, you know, I wanted to propose to Asia, and I knew that if I wanted to do that, I couldn't afford a 4 or 5,000 unit summer, you know. And so I just kind of got in this finding a way mentality of like I don't have a choice. There is no choice but to do it. Like I can't afford to not hit at least PC every week. Like PC is not even that great, right? People are hitting more in 2,000 units now. Back, you know,
In a
people are hitting
week?
3,000 units in a week. You know, so 600 was like it's not really a big deal, but that was like my like I can't afford to go under that ever. So um yeah, I just, just kind of, I didn't have a choice, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
Kind of burn your boats type of mentality. You got to do this.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
absolutely.
Because I mean, I always wonder like I always wondered how you did that because it was so impressive. I mean, I remember looking. I was gone, and but I still kept in touch with you, and like obviously we lived in the same city, right? So,
Right,
but just I never really was part of the inside of what was going on,
right.
um, rightly so. I mean, I wasn't in the culture, but just like hearing about okay, how your kids doing? Just wanted to check in. Hey, how's it going? And just hearing, hey, yeah, we got 30 people coming back, we got 50 people coming back, we got 100 people coming to sales school. It's like, holy shit, man! Like that was it was super impressive, and I feel like in 3-4 years, like that's not many people can do something like that. Just turn a ship around in such a way. Um, I mean, it I I commend you for that because that's fantastic. I mean, that's crazy, man. I don't know that many people can do something like that in that amount of time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, dude, honestly, and again, it's like we like Danny being committed probably it would have taken 10 years, or five or way longer than four, but again, it was we had such a committed group, and that's what helped accelerate it so fast. Um and yeah, I mean, and I think one of the beautiful things about our group is we're so bought into what we do in the mission, and at the end of the day, that's what keeps me around. Is I just believe so much in what we do, and especially nowadays, like I'm so convicted that I see college age kids nowadays, and I'm like, man, like our country, like our world needs this more now more than ever. Like the way I see kids and the way with everything going on, it's like, man, like this is now more than ever they need an experience like this to help them just pick their head up and be able to see the world in a different way. Um, so I think there's just so much passion behind that, that it really helps us to do all. And I think our whole group's really bought into that, which is really cool. So anyways, yeah.
hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Good stuff. Damn.
America.
Do it for the country. Patriotism. Let's go.
It's the most patriotic thing we could do right now.
Is
Yeah.
yeah.
Other
There you
than
go.
other than serve your country, is recruit for
Yeah.
Southwestern.
And hot dogs on 4th of July. Then go sell books. Dude,
Yes.
that's wild. We it's interesting too because mom my mom like hosted like every summer since, and like the way she's paid back to like our whole
Yeah.
family kind of got involved, and it was
Yeah. It's cool. And they still recruit for me. It's awesome. Like my dad every year he sends my mom too. I recruit I think one or two kids every year from our parents, sorry. But
okay.
yeah,
Your
like I did
parents.
last year. We had a kid who's going to be a top first year this year that my dad sent me, and and my mom sends people, so yeah, it's cool how the family's kind of all bought into it, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah. It just kind of became our thing. It was kind of like
Yeah.
your thing, really, but that's cool, man. So, let me ask you about like what like the lessons that you learned, how they're helping you as a dad. Let's switch gears a little bit because I know it's very recent. You had a baby, little baby
Yeah.
Vico. It's the cutest. Let me see if I can find a picture. Oh, I
Yeah, I was gonna
posted a
say you got a
picture.
picture of this guy.
Yeah, I'll find a picture. But tell us a little bit about the little man
Yeah,
and,
dude.
and your
So
experience being a dad and the things you learned.
we got pregnant at the worst possible just kidding. God's timing is perfect, but it was just a little inconvenient for what we do. And so it was our eighth summer, and at the time I'm living with, oh, there he is. Look at that guy.
There's Grandpa Rodrigo, Grandpa Hot Rod, Coach Hot Rod, and there's
And
little baby Vico, and he's
little
wearing
Vaco.
the logo, the shirt from the organization that my dad created to help kids with development in soccer and getting into college. He's badass. That's a whole different story, but that's your little
Yeah.
baby. That's your
Dang, he
baby.
looks he looks big in that photo. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Look at that gut.
Yeah, dude.
Oh
That's
man.
incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
when Aisha and I were still in our eighth summer, it was the last summer we were out there. We were living together because we were married,
yeah.
and we had a summer baby. So yeah, that was interesting because we weren't expecting to get pregnant in the middle of the summer, but we did, and we feel very blessed. And he happened to his birthday was like Tuesday of sales school the next year. So it was just this made everything very interesting.
Yeah.
for sure. So May 11th. So it was the week that my team was out there. But it's awesome, man. It's been cool being a dad. It's kind of weird because like you kind of forget you have a kid, and like Aisha and I look at each other and we're like this is our human. We loved each other so much that this happened. That's
Yeah,
wild. Like
that's
when you think
crazy.
about it,
Yeah.
it's crazy that you love a human so much that you make another human, dude. What? That is
And here we
wild.
are. We are the same way.
Insane, dude. Dude, just
Oh man. So
talk
so
about love.
yeah, but like, what do you think? How do you think like what you know is gonna help you be a dad? Like, do you find yourself applying anything
Oh
that you
yeah.
know from Southwestern or?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we're like, the biggest thing man, I think it was Dan Moore who told Aisha this, and I'm like, again, we're blessed to have the mentors we do. And Aisha was kind of venting to Dan about like, Dan, it's just kind of worrisome because when you have a kid, it's like, how do you know if he's on par with this and that? And how do you know if he's in line with what he's supposed to be doing? And Dan was like, Aisha, all you need, in the most Dan Moore way, obviously, he goes, you don't have to worry about that. All you need to worry about is making sure he has great character, you know? And so that's kind of been our thing is we just want to make sure we don't care what he does. It's just, and just like any parent, we just want to make sure he's a well-rounded, uh, good contributor to society and he's got great character. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for him to
Uh,
to see what he does. It'll be fun.
are you reading him Augmentino yet? Are you like
Um,
I will persist until I succeed or whatever?
yeah, we should. That's actually a great idea. Just read him a scroll of Og every night.
That's what I would do when I rocked him in the chair when I was still there.
Yeah, really?
I'd read
That's
him
great.
Og. Yeah, I'd read him Og the scrolls.
Dude, yeah. I mean, you know, yeah. I mean, he's definitely gonna play soccer, and we already decided that his Halloween costume, we're gonna get him like a little visor, a little name tag, and a little
Ted
polo.
Lasso.
No, no, he's gonna be a little Southwestern kid. He's got like little cargo shorts. We're gonna give him a little green book bag. It's gonna be awesome, dude. It's gonna be so cool.
I thought you were gonna make him Ted Lasso. That would have been also funny.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be good too. No, but he's gonna be a rookie.
Hell yeah.
It's gonna be
Heck
great.
yeah. Dude,
For
that's so
sure.
funny. It's just funny looking back like all the crazy stuff cuz I mean, I remember like through that whole first summer like and really that's the summer I spent the most time with you, right? Because after that you had your own HQ and I was like doing my own thing and I
Mhm.
didn't do so hot that summer. That kind of put a strain on us, as our dynamic changed, But even before that, during that, like I just remember thinking that I was just super proud of you because you were crushing it, man. Like you for who you were and the age that you came out, like I I was super proud, and I'm glad that this is what's that result of that. Like
Yeah. Well,
it's cool.
I just remember I wanted to figure. I think I've told you this. I think I told you this at your birthday last year. How like, um, I remember my first week when we used to fill out bars. Which, by the way, now they do everything
On
electronic,
the
right?
iPad, yeah.
On the iPad.
God.
Well, back when we used to fill out bars, I remember after the first week, I was adding up my units, and we were in the HQ, and I had 79 units my first week ever, right? And I'm like 79. And I jotted it down. I'm like, cool. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I'm like, all right, 79 units. All right, cool. And then I looked at unit. Do you remember this? I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember this, but I
yeah, I
looked
think
at
so.
I was like, hey, what was your best week last year again? And you're like 700 something. What was it, like 720 or something like
Yeah,
that?
it's
You're like
some
720. And I looked down, I'm like 79, I'm like 720. And I'm like, I thought I in my this happened in like a second, right? I thought about all the crap I went through that week and all the tears I already cried and all the things. And I'm like 79. And then I was like 720. And I just remember looking going, what the hell, dude? What? 720? I just remember going, that is absurd, dude. What? And that's like the first time I remember going, damn, dude, you killed it last year.
it was a good
I
summer.
felt I felt so far away from that. And I remember I'm like, I gotta figure this thing out, dude. I gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I probably didn't help me. Probably got a little unit focused after that. But yeah, I just remember after my first summer, and I did 2,000 units. And I had the same feeling where I was like, you did 4,200 units your first summer, and I did 2,000. I'm like, what the hell, dude? I'm like, no, I got to figure this out. And so yeah, every summer I was just trying to figure it out because, and I remember when the first summer I passed your first summer was my third summer. It took me 3 summers to beat what you did in the summer, and that was definitely in my mind. I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome.
Get it?
I'm like, it's about time, dude. But
I
yeah, I was just blown.
understand.
I was blown away, dude. I couldn't believe it.
I
So
don't know
that was
how
a
it
lot.
happened. I don't know how it happened. It just clicked at the right time. It was just like the classic story of like when it clicks. Just lucky
Yeah,
that it happened the first summer. Because I had bad summers too. I mean, I was off schedule my whole third summer essentially, and my fourth
right.
summer my attitude was just garbage. And so those are lessons I needed to learn myself too. To learn. But I'm glad. If I wish I would have been swapped. I wish I would have like had terrible summers and then ended on a high note. To be honest with you, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it's like, hey, no, it's okay because like it
Dude,
happened how it needed to.
yeah, we all have our own journeys, you know. That's just how it was supposed to be.
It turned out.
So, absolutely,
Yeah,
no
man.
doubt.
What was it like the first time you hit more? Because you hit more.
Oh, dude,
I
did I ever tell you
remember.
about my more muffin?
Yeah, dude, you told me about your more
More,
muffin. But you got to share
did
the
you ever
more
see
muffin.
it? Did you ever see
It
the
was
more
yes,
muffin?
dude. It was disgusting. You got to tell the story. You got to
That
tell.
was nasty,
So yeah, let's talk about how you
bro.
geared yourself up for high production like that. Because I remember calling you on the phone every Sunday, like, here's
Yeah.
what you're gonna do, like,
So,
just still trying to figure out a way to help.
so
But
to this
I had
day, yeah, dude, to this day, I started cranking my sixth summer, and it was, dude, it was the visor, bro, and it's the game changer. That's the key. It's the visor. So my last day of my fifth summer, I had Austin Gerber came and followed me, and it was only half day because I was going to start deliveries. So I was only selling from like 8 to like 1, and then I was going to start deliveries, right? But Austin still wanted to come follow. And I'm like, all right, you can follow for a couple gold periods, and then you can go back to your turf. So he comes in, and when he shows up, he's wearing a visor, and I'm like, I don't really wear it. I used to hate wearing hats, and I'm like, let me see that thing. I saw people wear it all the time. I put this visor on, dude, and I put it backwards, like a backwards visor, and it was like the touch of the Southwestern gods, bro. And that and like that goal period that day, I worked till like 12:30, 2 goal periods. I cranked out like 200 units or something like that, and we were just jamming. We were just like cranking. And so at the end of the day, Austin's like, "Wow, that was awesome," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm keeping this visor. I'm sorry." And he's like, "All right, whatever." So that was the first day. And to that day, I never went on the field without that visor. And I tell you what, that was the key. Because then the first week of my sixth summer, I hit PC and with the visor on, and that was my 30-week streak of PC. Was the first week of my sixth summer up until my last week of my career, and it was the visor, man. I tell you what, it was the visor. So
okay
that was awesome.
with the visor. If you
Yeah, if
want to
you're
know how
out
to,
there,
well, even if you're not selling books, if you're just
yeah, dude,
needing to improve your production at work,
performance, get
your
a backwards
performance,
visor.
but it has to be backwards and it has to be
It
visor.
has to be backwards visor. Yes. So to the more I wasn't. It's not like I was trying to hit PC every week. That's lame. Like honestly, by like the third or fourth week, I was pretty over it. I was trying to hit more the whole time, and I don't know. I just had this mental barrier that I
Mort's a
couldn't break
thousand
through.
units for people listening.
So I would hit like 900, 800, 900, 700, and then it was so frustrating. So I called Grant Greeter, my old DSM at the time, and I'm like, dude, why can I, what do you got for me? Like, help me break this thing. And he goes, well, do you have a mort muffin? And I'm like, this was my, what was this? This was my
Dear,
sixth summer.
dear God, dear God.
And I'm like, what's a mort muffin? And he goes, well, the first time that I hit PC, I had a PC banana. And I'm like, what's that? So he's like, I got a banana and I put it on the dashboard of my car. And I told myself I wouldn't eat it until I hit PC. And so I hit PC that week because I didn't want to eat a gross banana. And then he's like, and it worked. So I hit PC. So he's like, okay, that was great. And so then I was like, so he was like, what's next? He's like, more. All right, let's get a mort muffin. So he put a mort muffin on his dash and he wouldn't take a bite out of it until he hit it. And he's like, that one took me a couple weeks to do it, but it worked. And I'm like, that's it. That's the key. That's genius. So I bought myself a muffin. And no, actually I had someone follow me and I told him to get a muffin before they came, and I put it in this little Ziploc bag and I taped it to the dash of my car, and it just cooked there. And I did not hit PC that entire summer. And so,
You didn't hit more the whole entire summer.
or I'm sorry, more. I didn't hit more that whole summer. And so to punish myself, I was like, I'm not removing that. It's staying there. So my whole school year that year, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was so gross, dude.
It was nasty. So the whole school year, I had this Mort muffin sitting in the dash of my car just to remind me how much of a loser I was for not hitting Mort. And I thought that would really motivate me. And so I had this dank. It was so moldy. It was like growing colonies of stuff. It was just in my car. And I go into next summer, my seventh summer, and I still have that Mort muffin on there. And sure enough, I finally hit it like week 7 or something. And do you remember when I sent you?
Yeah, dude, it was so
I
gross.
sent you a picture of this muffin with a big old bite taken out of it. Oh, and it was disgusting.
Disgusting, dude.
Yeah, I remember
Oh.
I hit it like at 8 p.m. that night, and I pulled it out, dude. And and I tell you to this day, the most delicious muffin I've ever taken a bite out of. It felt so good. It felt so
Yeah,
good.
cause that's crazy. What do you have to average, like 160 a day? That's crazy.
Uh, it was something like that. Yeah, it was like 160 something. It wasn't that crazy. I mean, I don't know why. I just couldn't get there for some reason. It was weird.
And now people, what is it? Dominica hit like 3,000
Yeah,
this
dude. Now people are
other
hitting
week.
like 1,500, 2,000. It's like, it's not even that big of a deal.
She hit 3,000.
She hit 3,000 in a week. Just wrap your head around 3,006 units. That means she averaged 501 units a week. Or I'm sorry, a
A
day, a
day.
day, a day, which means that she did my entire first summer by Thursday. That's wild.
Dude, what the fuck?
That's wild.
That's
Yeah.
when she's done, she's got to come on this thing and tell us that she did that.
Dude, I would
Crazy
I would
story.
lovely tune in. That is insane. 3,000, and she doesn't even, and like the customers. I mean, I think it was like 30 something customer. It wasn't
Yeah,
like 60 or
she was
something.
dropping bombs.
I think she averaged like 55 units a customer or something like that, you
That's
know?
so insane. That's for people like I mean that's so to translate it to dollars. So a unit is worth $7 for anybody that's been listening to this
Roughly.
point.
Yeah,
So in other
roughly.
words, she made $21,000 that
$21,000
week
that week. Yeah, just unreal.
just from
Yeah,
selling books
wow.
door to door. What a thing.
Educational systems,
Oh
actually.
yeah, excuse me.
Yeah,
Educational systems.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Books, websites, and apps.
Books,
Yeah,
websites, and apps to help.
absolutely.
Damn, that's that's wild.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
that's so
it's
pretty
wild.
crazy that you hit that. I remember when you sent me that picture of the muffin. I was like, no, please tell me that you're gonna.
More, more
Sunday's
muffin,
gonna be
dude.
a long day in the bathroom for
Yeah,
you.
dude. I mean, I don't think I swallowed it, but I took a bite. I chewed it a little bit, and I spit it out. But
Oh, okay. That's still pretty disgusting.
it
That's
was
a
it was pretty gross. It was pretty gross. It was pretty
but it
gross,
was
but it was good at the same time. I mean, it was like,
yeah. It's like kissing your sister. You know,
yeah,
just
something like that.
pretty gross, but kind of good at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't have sisters, so we don't have to find out about
yeah, that's true.
that.
Yeah,
Damn,
that
dude,
was
that's
wild.
crazy. Well, let's see.
Uh,
We've been on here for about an hour, so I'll leave the last like 15, 20. And since uh, let's hear some ball and pony stories. Also, give us some like wisdom, Danny wisdom that
oh,
you want to give us with. If you, I mean, sometimes like
pony
Brandon told us about
stories.
when he went to jail with the first
Oh
year,
wow.
and then they came out, and then they went to
With
something.
the first year?
Yeah, both went to jail. You should go listen to that episode. I think it's like episode 3 or
Oh my
something.
gosh.
Uh, um, but it was crazy. It was a crazy, and he took half an hour for that episode for that story. So you could do like one big long one, or you can do like a couple short ones.
Trying
You
to
know,
think. A pony story or like a crazy,
or it could be
crazy.
like a thing like kind of like this the lady with the that helped you find your faith, like something like that too. It could be something like that was really
Yeah.
impactful, like a moment you're like, I'm never gonna forget that day. That was a crazy day, a crazy
Oh,
story.
dude. Man, I mean, there's just a million stories that I'm trying to think because I used to have like this follow iPad where I had people write down like crazy stuff that would happen when they followed me. And man, I wish I should probably find that iPad and go through that. It'd probably make me laugh for a while, but Um, trying to think.
Or it could be like a big customer. Colin told us about this guy he met. He was super rich. Cause you know
Oh
that?
yeah, the Lamborghini guy.
Yeah, he had like all the cars.
Yeah, I mean, my crazy summer with a lot of like rich people was my second summer. I was up in New York, and I was knocking on a lot of celebrity houses. I knocked on Liam Neeson's house. That was pretty cool, and I was not supposed to be there, but I was just like just a quick one. Kevin Bacon was that summer. Knocked on Kevin Bacon's door, and then I sold to Renee Zellweger's niece and nephew. I didn't even know who she was. Do you even know who Renee
Yeah,
Zellweger is?
actress. Yeah.
From yeah. I didn't know who she was, but people kept saying the Zellwegers, and I'm like, I didn't really put it together. I was in Connecticut, and she has these kids, niece and nephew that are twins, and I met her brother, and they bought a lot of stuff for me, and I didn't even know who she was until the customer told me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So I had a lot of celebrity experiences because that's just kind of natural up in New England. There's a lot of that, a lot of
Right.
celebrities, movie stars up in the New England area. But other than that, I'm trying to think. Like, um, I remember one of the biggest customer I ever had. Even with that, like, I never had like a crazy bag story. The biggest customer I ever had was my third summer, and that was the summer that I lived in that school. Do you remember that?
Dude, tell us about that story. See, like how
That
you,
was
dude,
really
we got to hear
cool.
about that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That was awesome. You should pull it up. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
find
let's
it.
on
Look
like
up
the.
like Google Maps.
Okay, what is it?
That was crazy. That was summer. So my third summer, we were up in upstate New York, and we were living with this alumni in like the Rome, New York area, kind of north of Ithaca or that area.
What
And
town? What town was this school at? So I
look
can.
up Constableville, New York. Constable. I might have to type it in.
I got it. Ville, New York. Okay.
And it was me and my two roommates, and we're living with this alumni, and the guy ended up kicking us out because he thought we were too messy. And
What?
this alumni kicked us out. I'm like, are you kidding me,
I
dude?
feel
So
his pain. No, I'm saying I feel his pain.
I was just like, I was like blown away. So I'm working in my turf, and I'm knocking, and I'm looking for a place to live. And I sold to this lady who lives across the street from the school. And I'm getting pre-approach, and I'm asking around. I'm like, by the way, do you know of anyone in the community that has hosted people in the past? And she goes, oh, you see, well, you want to skip these guys next door. They don't have any kids, but you see the school, go talk to them. They have kids. You might be able to help them. And
The
I thought she
school.
was kidding. Yeah, I'm like, ha ha. I'm like, okay, whatever. She's like, no, no, seriously. Like, there's a family living in that school. And I'm like, what? So yeah, Constableville. Yep, you're in the right area. Yeah, baby, zoom into that. And so I
Oh my God, this is a
apparently,
tiny town.
it was a tiny town. So I was working in this whole little like, okay, so you see West Main Street,
Yeah.
drop the little guy right left of antiques and stuff up by further right, little further left, no, down the main street, right there, drop it like right there. It's like right in front of you. Turn around, turn around, oh, you passed it. Okay, go the other way.
This is
Oh,
hilarious.
this is some good territory, dude. Oh my gosh. Dude, I crushed
If you're
this town.
listening, you gotta come check this out on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook
Oh
channel.
my gosh. So okay, look left. The school's on your left. Other way, other left.
Oh, what the heck?
Right. There's the school. Look at that.
You lived in
So
there?
yeah, dude. So go forward and a little bit. Yeah, right there. That's the school. And this lady across the street to your right, that's the school right there. She's literally on the right, turn right, right. Like just pivot, keep pivoting. Like that
This is
house
it.
right there. She bought, right?
Okay.
And so she's like across the street. She's like, you got to go talk to those guys. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I go and I talk to them, and she like turned me down real quick. But they had three kids, and funny enough, they homeschool.
Ha.
And
Yes, they do.
I know, right? So she turns me down, and I'm like, oh shoot. And then as she's gonna go back inside, I'm like, oh, 1 second. Other random question, and I kind of explain the situation. And she's like, interesting. Why don't you come? And she was open minded, and she she had us come with my roommates on Sunday to meet us and stuff, and then they approved us, right? And they're like, "Hey, you guys can stay." So we lived in this school, and it was the coolest thing ever. They like had my school district that I was working in. They had three elementary schools. That was one of them, and they shut down that one because there wasn't enough kids anymore. So they divvied up the kids and they sent them to the other two, which means that they had this empty building, and so they sold it to this family for $75,000. They got that whole building for 75 grand,
Oh my god.
dude. And so they bought it, and they use the space for missionaries, and just like they host people all the time. So my roommates and I move in, and it still looked like a school like on the inside, but they had kind of done some work to it, so it was very like Pinteresty. And our room was one of the classrooms. So the picture that you showed there, we were like the
Yeah.
front, the first window. We were like the classroom, and they had like a king size, three king size beds in every classroom. So we each got our own king size bed, and they made it look really pretty. They kept a whiteboard up though, so it kind of still felt like a school. The library where they used to have the library, they gutted it and they turned it into like a family theater. It was the coolest thing, with like a projector and everything. It was awesome, and that was like their living room. And so every night we would come home, we'd come home to like a basketball. We had a gym. There was a gym, and we'd play hoops, and we would shower in the locker rooms. And it was just the craziest thing. They had like a little auditorium stage and
No
stuff.
way.
It was wild. Their whole the cafeteria was their kitchen, so it looked like Hogwarts. Where it has like the
Yeah.
long wooden tables. They had two long wooden tables
That's so
in the
cool.
cafeteria. I mean, it was just the coolest thing ever. So we were just like living out of the school for like $40 a week, and it was awesome. He became a big mentor of mine too. Uh, he was like, to this day we still stay in touch, which is really cool. So that was an awesome host family situation. A
Dude,
lot better than our first summer, I would
yeah.
say.
Level up a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. That was wild. And dude, that was a story. There's a story that summer that kind of, so that summer, I sold to the mayor of the town, and yeah, he bought a 1 through 6. He bought like 50 units, and at the end when I'm wrapping up, he goes, um, yeah, we'll take 2 sets, and I'm like, what? I'm like,
Oh,
the
your
girls.
dogs are going crazy.
Oh, can you hear them?
Yeah, it's okay though.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm like, the girls can share them, you can just have the girls share. And he's like, oh no, she lives with mom half the time, so I want her to have her own stuff there. And that was probably one of the biggest customers I had, where you like bought like multiple sets. um and then other than that was like the week that I hit more, I had a fat aunt customer where I go up to this. It was like Tuesday of the week that I hit more, my seventh summer, and I go up to this house, and there's this couple sitting out on their porch, and there's a Mustang in the driveway. And I go up to the house, and they're just kind of chilling on the porch, and they're probably in like their 50s. And I ask, tell them what I'm doing. They're, yeah, we don't have any kids, but I give her like a quick little demo of the slick, and she's like, oh, I got nieces and nephews. I'm like, great. And so she starts looking at it, and I do like a quick demo, quick price build them. She's like, you know what, I'll do 3 sets, one for each kid I have. Can you ship them out, or do you have them right now with you? I'm like, I do. And she's like, great, I can ship them out when and throughout the years. And so she bought 3 sets for her niece and nephew, right? So I'm in my car, I'm getting everything, and I'm like carrying like the stack of books to the steps. And as I get there, the guy, which was I found out was her boyfriend, they're talking, they're kind of like whispering to each other. And I'm like writing up the order, and I'm like, what's going on? And she goes, oh, he's just telling me he's got a nephew down in Florida. And I'm like, and I looked at him like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, well, you don't want to leave anyone out, do you? And he's like, yeah, you're right. Why don't you give me another set too? So I had to go to my car and get another set. So that was awesome. That was a cool one. So dropping 4 sets at
that's
that
a
one place.
that's a pony.
Yeah, I mean that was probably like 100 and gosh, that's probably like close to 150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I know a
Yeah.
story we need to end on. We gotta tell a story about when you found out I could speak Chinese.
Oh my gosh. Actually, did I ever tell you the story
No,
of the oh my gosh, dude, Colin. Did Colin tell the story of
I don't
the
know.
The gnats, the fruit flies.
Oh, we also need to hear that story.
Have
So
you ever heard that story?
let's go Chinese story and then Nats because I think Nats is a better ending to this thing.
Oh
Yes,
my
I've heard that.
gosh,
So I don't think Colin might have told us, but it's worth telling again. Uh,
dude, that was wild.
the day I think it was one of the few days we ever worked together. It was like the same day.
Yeah, yeah. Was that my second? No, it was like my
That was my
fourth
third summer.
summer. Your third summer, so my fourth
Yeah,
summer, or something like that.
yeah. And we just started. We were working together, and I don't even know. We were like in Manchester or Danbury or whatever, Manchester or New Hampshire,
South
and
side, yeah, somewhere out there.
it was late. And we didn't even have any appointments, and I was like, "Pff, here, I can knock. I'll knock late." You're like, all right. So you just give me the bag.
I remember how nervous I was because everyone. I was looking for lights, and we're like trying to be all incognito. Oh my gosh. We find this like this little house with a little light above the garage. And we're like, screw it, we'll do it. I'm like, you do it.
Like, all right, whatever. I'll knock. I'll take the heat. It won't ruin the video.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get yelled at in those houses. And this lady opens, and she looks Asian. I didn't
She's an
know she
Asian.
spoke
Yeah, she's
Chinese.
an Asian
Yeah,
lady.
no, she was
Wasn't
like an
it the
Asian.
girl, like a little girl? Like,
No, it was a mom, but then the girl came to the door, and they just lived alone together.
okay,
And
yeah.
I was like, "Hi, are you the mom?" And she's like, uh, "Yeah," but she did not speak English. And I remember the little girl came. She like asked the girl to come over so she could translate. But
Yeah.
the girl like said something, and I was like, "I don't want to talk." The girl was super small, and I was like, "I don't want to like this would be a lot for an approach."
Right.
And when she went to translate, I was like, "I think that's Chinese. Like I'm pretty sure that's Chinese." And so I was like, "Wait, are you guys in Chinese in Mandarin? Mandarin, I should say Mandarin.
Mandarin,
In Mandarin, I was like, "Hey, do you speak in Mandarin?" And we just had a
and they looked at you. They looked at you. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" And even when you said it, I was like, I was at the bottom of the steps, and I was like, "What?"
So the way I remember it is we had a conversation, do a demo, stand by. We go back to the car. We get in the car. I'm like, all right, we're done with the day. And I turn around, and you just look at me like,
Dude, you did like a whole presentation in freaking Mandarin. You're like, I can't even impersonate what it sounded like. But I was just like,
you were
what
just
the
like,
hell?
you're like, what the hell was that? And I was like, oh, they weren't interested. And you were like, yeah, no, but like, what the hell was that? And I was like, oh
And
yeah,
when
I took.
yeah, you're like, I took Mandarin in college. I'm like, okay, dude, that's cool.
It was so funny, but I'll never forget your face. You're just like,
Como que
what
qué?
the hell? Yeah, what? Bro,
Yeah,
Nat
that
story.
was
Nat
wild.
story, we can wrap it. Like, it's
Dude,
been an hour 22, and we spent like 7 minutes
okay.
in the other episode that no
And
longer
another
exists.
so actually one other so I had this roommate my second summer, another good story. And the cookbook story. I ever tell you about
No.
oh, I think I
Yeah,
told you this.
that's the whole point of this podcast. You gotta tell these stories.
So, oh my God, dude, it was just, I remember laughing so hard because I've never seen this white kid get so red. It was, so I'm living with Bruce, this guy named Bruce Bigler, and he's a South Dakota
Oh,
kid,
yeah.
and he's following me for the day. And I give him the bag to go knock, and he's like this white pasty South Dakota kid, and he's just a cool, great guy. He's awesome. And he's knocking, and then we knock, and this old black guy answers the door, and he's probably like in his like dude like mid 70s. He's like older guy, right? And he's like southern black, like in his voice you can hear he sounds like a reverend, you know. And he tells him when he's like, son, I don't have any kids, you know. And he had like this deep raspy voice, and he's getting pre-approach from him, and he's telling him about the neighborhood. And then as he's giving him pre-approach, I see Bruce. He's like sneaking into his bag, um, to get a cookbook out. You know, the slick, because he's gonna demo the slick. Because we told him if they're older, then just demo the cookbook. And he's like, okay, cool. And he wraps up the pre-approach and he goes, by the way, sir, have I told you? Do you like to cook? Because we have a cookbook, and we just normally read off the slick, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
and
It's
they
like
had like
and this like
bullets.
it's like this little like literature piece. It's like a brochure. It opens
It's
up.
kind
It's
of like
like
a
it's like
brochure, yeah.
laminated, and you can see like what's in the book or whatever.
And so we would just tell the kids, hey, if you need to demo the cookbook, just read off of it. So he just started reading off of it without really ever looking at it. And he starts reading, goes, yeah, it's alphabetized from A through Z. There's over 1,000 recipe, and there's over 100 ways to cook chicken. And this guy looks at him and he goes, boy, my people been cooking chicken before your people even knew what chicken was. Don't tell me how to cook my chicken. And he just gets so red. Like he immediately is like sweating. And I'm like laughing so hard. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you're right. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't need this. I'm sorry. And I just never see, he's got so red and he's just like sweating. He thinks this guy's gonna kill him. And he like calms down. He's like, and then he's like, "You boys want water?" Oh my gosh! But that was so funny just watching that. That was hilarious. So, anyways, fast forward to my fourth summer, the Nats story. I'm so surprised that Colin didn't tell you this. So I'm living with Colin Appel, Seth Hood, who's still selling right now as we speak. I think he's about to hit 10,000 units, stud. And Paul Stevens, this guy from Vegas. So there's four of us, and we're living above this garage that this lady let us live in for the summer. And it has like a little, it's like a little grandma apartment above the garage. And it's probably like week 7 or 8. It's kind of later on. I'm laying in bed and I hear from the kitchen, I hear Colin go, what the fudge? And it like everything just got quiet. And I'm like, what the heck? So I go out there and there's like this black, like, like black, I don't even know what it was, dude. It was like this black paste coming down from one of the cabinets, and it was coming out from under the kind of along
Dude.
the wall onto the what's it called? You know,
Countertop.
the countertop. And it was just like this black goo coming out of the cabinet. And we're like, what the heck? And we all kind of look at it and we're like, where's it coming from? And it's obviously coming from the cabinet. And so it's me, all of us are looking at this, and Colin reaches in to grab it and opens it. And it's just, you seen the mummy?
Yeah.
You know? You know when he does that thing with the bugs?
Yeah, and it just shoots. Like someone's
Bro,
got
it
a
is,
hose, like a fire hose. Of bugs.
I can't even put into words. I've never seen this in my life, man. It's he opens his cabinet and it's just black darkness wave comes out all of us throughout the, and it's just gnats, bro. It's fruit flies, just a bunch of fruit flies just swarm out, and we're all like, what the fudge? It is like, and it was so many fruit flies, literally you couldn't stand. We were like, the kitchen was small, probably the size of this office, and you couldn't see each other from across the room because there were so many fruit flies, dude. It looked like we all looked blurry, like we could barely see each other because there were so many fruit flies, dude. And immediately we're like, oh, at this point it's like
You're gonna get
10:30 at
kicked out.
night. We're like, we're gonna get kicked out. We're screwed. We're like, oh my god. They're everywhere, man. They're everywhere. It's like you stick, if you stuck your arm out and just swung, you would feel all of them just hit your arm. I mean, I can't even exaggerate how many fruit flies. It was disgusting. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Dude.
Like if you just like did this thing, and you
Like
would
a
just not,
helicopter. You'd
you
kill
would just
you'd kill flies.
you just feeling all
Dude,
over.
imagine having one of those like little things that look like a tennis racket, but the
Oh
electrical.
yeah,
You would have been
you'd
like,
burn the place
"Bzzz."
down. You would have burned the place down. They would have caught fire. The place would have been burned down. And so we're like immediately trying to figure out what to do. So we all grab towels and we're just like swatting like crazy. We're just like trying
Three
to figure
book
out.
guys versus a
Four.
million flies.
It was four of us.
Book guys versus a million flies.
And it wasn't doing a thing. Like it wasn't doing anything. Not effective. And so Colin had to like YouTube a fruit fly trap
While they're just flying around you guys.
so Colin's on his phone and he gets like this jar and he puts you apparently you put like bananas in it,
Yeah.
and then you cover the top, you put a rubber band around the top to seal it, and you poke little holes, you put like thin paper over the top and you like poke little holes in it, and then you just leave it out, and then apparently they swarm to it and they get trapped there. And that's all we could do, and the rest we're just like we're just pray to God that our host mom doesn't come up here because
You
she
open the
hardly ever did.
window. Like,
Oh yeah, we tried to, but dude, it just went. And so it took like a week, bro. Like the next day we would come home, it was like a little bit better, but it was still really bad. And then every day it just got gradually a little bit better. And this jar, bro, this jar of fruit flies, it was just packed. I mean, it was one of the most, it was gross. It was so gross. But
Jeez.
my gosh, dude, we just look back at them. We laugh so hard just thinking about. And what happened was someone had left. Someone bought like someone bought like bananas like week one, and they left them in the cabinet. And so the black dew that was coming out was from the bananas, just like molding, and no one.
Dude.
Yeah, it was
But
nasty,
that's a
dude.
lot of flies to collect in just like even in like 8 weeks. I feel like that's crazy. Like,
I
oh,
mean,
gross,
I've never
dude.
seen anything swarm as bad as when we opened that cabinet. I mean, it was a cloud of just darkness of fruit flies. It was crazy.
What do you do when you see fruit flies now? Do you like
Oh, I just think
do you have PTSD?
I think
Does
of
it hurt
Paul.
you?
Paul always used to go, dude. They can multiply. It's spontaneous generation, is what he used to say, or whatever. That's right. But dude, that was nuts. That was a crazy one
Oh
for
man,
stories. But I'm
that's
sure I'm sure I got many more that I'll have to share with you some other time.
yeah. Well, you'll have to come back on. I wanted to. You said you had about an hour and a half, so we're a little bit past that. Sorry about that, but
Oh, that's all right.
yeah. So we're good. We're good. Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thanks for coming on. That was a fun. That was a fun episode. That was special.
Yeah,
Really,
dude.
really cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, again to close off, happy that you did this. Happy that this is something that we share. And I think it's a cool thing that everything in your life that you have right now that you own is because of your hard work. I mean, you and your wife, like Aisha's a large part of this too. But yeah, congrats on the successes, man. Very, very proud of you. So,
Thanks, man. You too,
um,
dude. I love this thing you got going. This is awesome.
yeah, it's been a fun thing. This thing is like hopefully continues to take off. We're getting a lot of support. We got merch and stuff coming out too, so this is cool. Speaking of things
Nice.
coming up, if you're listening, you're an alumni. We're trying to keep it to alumni, but we're probably going to start opening up. We're going to try to probably till the end of the year to try to get people to sponsor. Anybody listening that's alumni, if you want your company, being displayed, we're starting to get into the thousands of reaches a month, so that's pretty exciting. Like we have multiple thousand reaches a month now, but we're trying to keep it within the alumni group, so hopefully those guys are interested. If not, oh well. But it's growing, and I'm excited about it. So thanks for being on here. Thanks for supporting, and yeah, dude, it's been fun. We have Will Metro coming up with Andy Laws, and
Oh, that's a
we
good
have
one.
we have a lot of people in the pipeline too. So hopefully we can get them on here. So all right, guys, well we'll wrap it up with that. My name is Andres Gamboa. I'm a creator and co-host of the podcast. Nick was off today because I had a special episode with my brother Danny Gamboa, who technically is an alumni of the internship itself. So, and again your family, so we got to get you on here. So,
That's right. Thanks for
we'll
making it work.
yeah, I'll see you until next time I see you, man. Hopefully sometime. Oh, I'll
Yeah,
see you for
dude.
the race, for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll be
so
there.
we'll be in Austin for the race, so Formula One race. So, all right, well
All
we'll
right.
wrap up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a good night. Peace out.
All right. See you, brother. Love you,
Okay,
man.
bye. Love you.